my analysis is this. If we arrived to Honduras on 1797, so the original population of this island, of this town, would have French or English name, but there is no record. I have not found, and there is none available so far, even in the municipio. Yes, sir.
Why will they have French or English name?
Because when we came from St. Vincent, that was the name we brought. Spanish and English. I mean, French and English.
The name that Garifuna carried?
Yes. All the documentation we've been found has been English and French name. Yes, sir?
Nancy Gonzalez, the anthropologist Nancy Gonzalez, in her book Sojourners of the Caribbean, she's got a list of the Garifuna names that we brought from St. Vincent and from other places.
Right.
Yeah, some of them are like French. You can see the French names, you know, like Martin, Louis, you know, you can
Francois.
see Francois, Baptiste. You can see that they were French words, you know.
All right.
Even some of the words today that we consider English are actually French words because they've anglicized them today.
They will make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. The information we have so far is that Jose Dolores Castro was the first resident of that village. It's the information we have so far. But please don't accept my information as a final information. Feel free to continue investigation. Jose Dolores Castro and his wife name was Bermudez. I have that information with me in Honduras. I just went to Honduras, I carry with me all my books and things, so I can't memorize her first name now, but Bermudez was his wife. My assumption is that those black people were baptized by Spanish, by the Spaniards. That's why they are bearing a Spanish name. Okay. According to our information, the oldest child of this group, of this family, was Felix Dolores Castro, who was born on February the 21st of 1871. This family had 10 kids, and this was the oldest one, and he was married to Petrona Gonzalez, who was also from Santa Fe. Petrona Gonzalez was Santa Fe native, and she might have been my grandfather aunt.
That's right.
Because my grandfather was also from Santa Fe. Huh? Okay. And here we have the great-grandchild of this person. This couple, Petrona Gonzalez, had 2 kids. Julio, who I knew him,
Wow.
and Gregorio Castro. Gregorio Castro was my wife's grandfather. So she is direct descendant from this possible founder of the village of Punta Gorda. But again, don't take this information as final. Please keep trying investigation. Maybe you can find something more accurate.
Yeah, from Andrea Leland, yeah. It's available.
Another incidents which have not been acknowledged by the Honduran government is our participation in the army in Honduras. Okay. Around 1837 to 42, there was a lot of involvement of Garifuna fighter in the Central America War after the independence.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the most well-known Garifuna soldier then, it was Juan Francisco Bulnes, also known as John Bull or Walumugu.
Walum.
Okay,
Walum.
but ironically, since there is always two sides, there were a group of people, Garinagu, who opposed Francisco Morazan. So he signed an order to expel those Garinagu from Honduras in 1942. Yes, and those Garinagu were returned by presidential order on 1842 by the president of,
Where were they exiled
Where
to?
would they return though?
Yeah, where did they go?
They ran in the villages in the remote areas.
it is possible, but they were confined in Honduras to different villages and make themselves invisible.
Really?
So when the presidential order was signed to bring them in, the presidential order says that they should be allowed to come to the original town and give them protection under the current law.
That's a good thing.
That's pretty good, that one.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Melesio, that's how we, some Garinagu also got to Nicaragua.
Right.
They was
There are
persecution.
many Garinagu migrated to Nicaragua, Belize, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, and US.
How they make themselves invisible?
See me?
How they make themselves invisible?
Just keeping themselves high, they wouldn't go out nowhere, or just going to work, going to their farming, and things like that. It is sad, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, when I was growing up, I remember Tiburcio Carillas Sandino was government in Honduras from 1942, I guess, to 1945. I mean, 1948, 16 years. After that period of time, his people inherited the government. So basically, the same system continued. I remember, I was able to see it, that there will be soldiers all over in the night time because there was no light, following those who consider in the opposition side.
Toque de queda.
Toque de queda. So this government, it was called
Nacionalista.
nacionalista. So they will persecute those who were called themselves liberales.
Liberales.
So those liberales must be very careful because in the night time they can catch them, pick them up, and
Kill them.
and release them later or disappear. Okay? I know people who left Trujillo around that time and they never came back.
Isn't this the time too when a lot of people went to Belize? Yes.
Yes.
This was during that
Most of the time.
Right.
Okay, it was on 1937, if I'm not mistaken,
The incident at San Juan.
San Juan.
Right.
Also, my wife is related to that incident.
Oh.
She is grandchild of one of the victims, Pedro Martinez.
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez was her paternal grandfather.
We have a lot of stories of relatives who were from there during that time. Pablo Lambe,
All right.
Isabel Flores. That's when they came to Belize.
Okay, from Honduras.
Their parents, yes.
All right. So, I want.
Don Justo.
Justo Flores?
Yeah.
Okay?
During that time.
I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that prior to this incident, el masacre de San Juan, the Garina were very involved in the political life of Honduras. Okay? We have several generals and colonels of the army at that time. But after this incident, they split and flee to protect themselves. Many of them died in the journey and some returned. Okay, is that when Mingo,
Bonifacio Garcia.
okay, Lorenzo Lacayo,
Lorenzo Lacayo,
yo conocí, yes sir,
During this time, didn't a lot of people go to Mexico too, to Veracruz?
yes,
Because
some,
one time we were in Chetumal, me and my grandmother, in my two grandmothers, my twin grandmothers in 1962 or 63. About tower with no good. This tall black man in Chetumal, a man they hadn't seen for 30 years. Yes, I was there as an 8-year-old.
yes,
He was living and hiding in Mexico in Chetumal all these years. They thought he was dead.
right. There are many people from Trujillo coming to Chetumal. Last name maybe Nunez, Gotay.
This one was Ramos. He was Ramos.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was Ramos, it may be from Limon originally.
Limon, Rio Tinto.
Pero los de Rio Tinto, Limón que hay, bravo. A Rio Tinto by Limón que hay.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Can you expand on what happened in San Juan de Urugubuti when these people were killed and how they were killed and why?
There is no clear information about, because the politicians try to blame each other. Okay. The only thing is clear is that the killers were belongs to this government,
The nationalists.
because the victims were liberales. And the assumption is that the liberales was helping the revolutionarios to bring weapons in to attack the government. The revolutionaries were bringing weapons in Honduras through San Juan from Belize or anywhere to fight against this government. That was the explanation they give.
Another piece of history. You know, like how we know the history from Belize, but we don't know the little attachment to Honduras.
Right.
During this time, that's when a lot of Belize and Garifuna people became wealthy from this gun running and liquor trade. They did as what do you call it?
It's not trade, it's smuggling.
Smuggling. I asked Pablo Lambe once. I said, how come these people are well off and have big houses in Bangladesh? He said, smugglers include Barugo Dihada.
That's true, that's true.
As you see, it is impossible to talk about Garifuna history in one country without,
Mentioning the other one.
it is impossible because we came from the same roots.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go to any town in Honduras. I'm almost sure that you are going to find somebody who you are related to. You don't know that. Anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Okay. For instance, the family Castro in Roatan, the original one came from Punta Gorda. Okay. There is Gonzalez in Paine, I think, or Dan Griga. That guy came from Santa Fe, and he was my father's brother.
Yeah, Benega again, Mario Gonzalez, he's still there.
Benega.
He was my classmate.
He was my father's brother.
Yeah,
Okay. He went to Belize.
right. He's still there, his
Right.
grandson.
And so on. The Blanco in Guatemala came from Trujillo. Okay, you see, it is impossible to talk about Garina in Guatemala or Belize without touching Honduras. It is possible. Because we are the same people.
That's why it's important now that we focus on Garifuna Duo.
Garifuna world
Bring all these diverse people together.
together. Because that is the difference now again.
Ethnicity.
That is the difference between ethnicity and race. For instance, okay, you are from Belize, Ruben is from
Honduras.
okay, not from Trompo, I'm from Trujillo, etc., etc. we meet here, we identify ourselves as Garifuna, we start talking like we know each other for years. Okay? We have the same values, the same history, the same everything.
Same language.
Okay? So this is the glue which bind us together.
Right.
The culture, the language, and the history.
No way, Guinea.
Okay? So that is important, people, to keep us together.
So that would be the race or the
Ethnic
Ethnic.
group,
that would be-
ethnicities. Okay, the race, okay, let's say we are black. This is from Guatemala, I'm from Honduras, this is from Nigeria, this is from Jacksonville, Florida, this is from Guatemala,
Yeah.
this is from Guatemala,
Yeah,
all
a lot
of them
of-
are black.
It's a race.
That's
Some
right.
of my cousins from Puerto Barrios, they're Chinese.
Alright,
We never talk of it. My cousin Owen, his grandfather,
Alright.
his great grandfather was Chinese.
Alright.
The Sanchez, they were Chinese from.
but his
Puerto Barrios and Los Pueblos.
ethnicity is Garifuna.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're
His
mixed race.
ethnicity Garifuna.
ethnicity. Race is black. It's
Because
African.
he was raised in that culture. It's a group of people who share the same language, same history, same values.
Right.
Those are the race.
Okay, but let's say like every country and every state combined as Garifuna and come together to talk. Are they all gonna talk the same language, Garifuna, and they're all gonna be understandable for us to each other?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. With some, light slang maybe, but we are going to communicate very well.
That's
Right.
true.
Absolutely.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
In this class, you need to come to class. Yeah, every Saturday.
Okay.
It's free.
Another part of our participation in it was on
One second. One question.
Yes, sir.
What is the involvement of the Garifuna people in the Honduran military?
Hey, we have higher grade, we have lesser, but with higher grades.
Oh.
Yes. You may know Flores, he is a colonel, and I think we have 3 more. I don't know them personally.
Right.
We have less, but with higher grades.
Weren't you a sergeant in the Honduran?
Oh, okay.
Right.
In 1972, we only got to lieutenant.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have colonels.
Yeah, in Belize we have Jess Namu, he was a lieutenant colonel. And I think Adderley, Garita, he was also a lieutenant colonel. And here in the United States, we have I know quite a few lieutenant colonels in the Air Force.
Very nice.
Yes, of
Okay.
course. Many, I mean, more than a
In
dozen.
America, yeah, lots.
Right here in the United States today,
Yeah.
young guys in their 30s.
Yeah.
Alright.
Like
Okay, lastly but not the least, in 1961, Honduras went to a small war with,
69.
eh?
69.
what?
69 or 69?
You said 1, but you wrote 9.
Okay. 1969. Okay, we went to a small war with El Salvador with wrongfully called Guerra del Fútbol,
It's not a war.
That's right.
which was not soccer war at all. Okay.
Political war.
But he was able to have a very strong participation, and probably our participation was the one who changed the course of the history in Honduras. Because the Garifuna soldiers were they were in charge of the communication system.
They were communicating there.
Okay, so they were communicating Garifuna, so that confused
The enemy.
the enemy, and that's how the balance changed on Honduras' favor.
They had to grab the communication system. As far as I learned, they grabbed onto the communication system and they started communicating in Garifuna.
Okay.
Because they were using the
Spanish language?
No, they were using codes.
Okay.
They never communicate directly in Spanish. They will use the codes. So every time they will send information by code, it was deciphered by the Salvadorian. But then, and they will kill. They killed a full battalion. The 3rd battalion was killed completely. and they were already in Honduras. They had taken Ocotepeque, a full state, and they were taking the next one. And the people who were in the front, they didn't have any backup. So the Garinagu people grabbed onto the radio. They're starting communicating that they were losing and a lot of stuff were happening. So, but that new language was not known to the Salvadorian people, so they thought that German was allied with Honduras.
Napoleon also.
That Honduras had been reinforced by Germany. And that psychological effect, made them held back until the soldier got back up.
That story has a parallel in World War II. The United States and the Allies won the war because of the Navajo Indian sports system in which the Germans were totally fooled.
We call it woodcockers.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so basically I covered most of the information I wanted to discuss with you. I will provide a copy of my presentation to Mr. Figueroa so he can print it and maybe distribute in the next class.
I'll email it, yeah.
So I can going to email it to you so you can be able to how, because the time limit.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I would want to, should you happen to come back again and lecture to us, I would want to hear or explore the impact of the creative artistic community, the musicians and the writers and the intellectuals on Honduran culture.
I will refer you to Ms. Alvarez.
Yeah.
I know you were going to say that.
I will refer you to Ms. Alvarez.
We want to thank Adolfo Dahat.
With all this information as far as the system in Honduras and how it's affecting us, the Garinagu, what do you suggest us to do?
My suggestion would be that each one of us must take his or her responsibility. First, as an individual, as a citizen, as intellectual, each one should do his or her part, then join together so we can do a common front and be able to project our success to the rest of the people. That is my suggestion. But of course, each one must stand up firm and be aware what your responsibilities are. We need to be honest. We should not be selfish. We should not try to be, I'm the best one, and try to filibuster this one's action because I disagree with it. Okay. We should know that everybody can do something, and we should take advantage of that little thing anybody could provide and put it all together. That is my suggestion.
The Afro-Latinos, Afro-Antillanos, Afro-Descendientes, and so on. What do you suggest that we should embrace?
Garifuna. You are Garifuna. I am Garifuna. Of course, I was originally from one of the Antilles, but how can I say today that I am Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Antillano, Afro I don't know what, if I cannot show nor prove my identity with those people? The only thing common we have is the color of the skin.
But we still do have commonalities with the people of St. Vincent, Dominica, the people that call themselves Kalipuna. There are still strong relations, and some of us can still trace, a few of us can still trace relatives there.
Yes, we can trace it, but for practical purposes, people, how can we function saying that I am Afro-Caribbean or Afro-Antillano just because I know that there are Garinagu descendants in Barbados or Dominica?
A lot of people, this discussion is coming to the forefront. A lot of people from Dominica and the Kalipuna from Dominica and I think it's Guyana have complained that the Garifuna community of Belize Honduras have used their population and their clout to acquire all of the UNESCO, indigenous dollars for themselves. That is written. I've seen that in writing.
Yes, it is writing and it is true, but again, we should be so open-minded, ladies and gentlemen, that if we go back to the history, you are going to notice that this color of coating spread around. It was used by indigenous people more than 400 years ago. You can see that color of clothing in Guatemala, in all South America and Mexico. Even though the Mexican is going to say that it's their clothing, but it's being used by the Indian in South America hundreds of years ago.
They have it here in the United States too. It's called the
Okay, right. So we need to be very specific, very clear where this starts and when it's finished and where the other thing starts. Okay? We are Garinagu. I was born in Honduras. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I went to a situation once in court when I went to testify. Okay, the father in question was a Spanish speaking from Mexico. Listen to this. How the generalization confused people. Okay, when they call my name, I introduce my name, I introduce myself. So this father's attorney wanted to question my ability to speak Spanish.
What?
Because the color of my skin.
They always do that. Idiot.
So he said, this family speaks Spanish, Mr. Gonzalez? I said, yes, I know. How long you been, how you handle Spanish speaking cases before? He said, I said, yes, sir. How long you been speaking Spanish? To the point. I said, maybe that's the way they call it in Argentina, but in Spanish, it's this. Period. Yeah. In Spanish, it's this. Maybe in Argentina it's that, but in Spanish, this. So he just looked at me, and that was the end of the story. Okay, and I had another experience. I don't want to. Okay. When I hold my first position here in Los Angeles, it was to a preschool program as a social worker. So my co-workers, a Spanish-speaking group, it was about 28 or 30 people, among teachers, social workers, and assistant teachers. Okay. My co-worker, Spanish-speaking, did not accept me as Hispanic because my skin.
Wow.
Okay? And my black co-worker
Because of the language.
did not accept me as Afro-American because I am Gonzalez. And I don't speak English.
So you're right in the middle.
So question, who or what I am? So that is how I found myself being Garifuna. That is how I started, trying to do some investigation about my history. I was forced to do it here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
That is how. Thank you so much.
Melesio, we want to thank you. We don't have the money to pay you. We wouldn't have
Oh,
enough.
find something.
You got to write a grant.
It was a nice lecture, a nice class. I think it was worth the time, and we appreciate it.
Quick announcement. Next week we're not having class. It's 4th of July weekend. And on July 23rd, we're gonna have